they always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Alrighty, hello, Real Sports Talk Network. So what's good on the internet, what's good in life? I'm Akeem Balaam, aka LI495, coming at you with yet another edition, this weekend's edition of 10 Minutes on the Clock, giving my picks for week 2 in the NFL. So let's get right into this. I'm going to start with Baltimore and Philadelphia, and I got Baltimore winning this game. Joe Flacco looked absolutely brilliant against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, even though it must be said that they were, of course, playing the Cincinnati Bengals, but they're my Super Bowl pick, of course, and so I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens over the Philadelphia Eagles, and a quarterback in Michael Vick, who last week, remember, threw 4 interceptions against the Cleveland Browns. It can be safely assumed that perhaps if the Eagles weren't playing the Cleveland Browns last week, they'd probably lose that game with Michael Vick throwing 4 picks in that game because they were up against a quarterback in Brandon Weeden who at this point probably still belongs in college, probably has no business being in the NFL, so I like Baltimore over Philly. Cardinals and Patriots, John Skelton is out with an injury. They're going back to Kevin Kolb, and we all know how that's turned out for his career, so I like the Pats at home at Foxborough to get a big-time win over the Arizona Cardinals. And when I say big time win, I mean that has the potential to be a blowout. Vikings and Colts, even though Minnesota was able to pull off what I still believe is somewhat of an upset victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, I still like the Indianapolis Colts to get their first win over the Minnesota Vikings, because I just cannot see this Minnesota Vikings team, even though Christian Ponder did I think a pretty good job last week, I still can't see the Minnesota Vikings going 2-0 on the season, while both Green Bay and Chicago are 1-1. But then again, this is the NFL, so I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts to win that one. Raiders and Dolphins. The Raiders sort of played the San Diego Chargers last week pretty tough for the first half. Then it started getting away from them. But the Miami Dolphins are the Miami Dolphins, and we saw last week what the Houston Texans did them. So I like the Oakland Raiders to beat the Miami Dolphins, sending them to 0-2. I'm really starting to believe that perhaps most people are only going to Dolphins games just to see their hot cheerleaders, but that's another story for another time. Moving on, New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. Saints, surprisingly, lost, of course, last week to Robert Griffin III and the Washington Redskins, but I like them to bounce back going up to Charlotte to the Bank of America Stadium, and I think that they're going to be extra reinvigorated after that loss, thinking, oh, wait a second, we lost against the Washington Redskins, no way they lose to the Carolina Panthers. Surprisingly, I believe lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. So I like the New Orleans Saints to win that over the Carolina Panthers. Chiefs and Bills, I like Kansas City in that game. We saw what happened to Buffalo, and that didn't look too good. That game was, of course, in New York at the Meadowlands. But the Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I expect big games, particularly from Dwayne Bell, as not to mention also from Jamal Charles. So I like the Kansas City Chiefs in that game to beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. Ohio versus Ohio. I guess you can say Ohio versus Ohio, a state divided. So you got Cleveland, you got Cincinnati, and I like not Cleveland, but I like Cincinnati in that game. Even though Cincinnati didn't look too well against the Baltimore Ravens. These are the Cleveland Browns we're talking about, and that is, of course, quarterback Brandon Weeden for the Cleveland Browns. So Cincinnati Bengals over the Cleveland Browns in Cincy. Moving on to Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars. I like the Houston Texans in that one. Buccaneers and the New York Giants, even though they got stunned on their Wednesday Night Football opener against the Dallas Cowboys, I think the New York Giants, which I must admit are my team, I think they are going to indeed bounce back, and they are going to get another win win their first win of the season over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Redskins and Rams. Rams, you can say, are a much easier opponent. Not that not that any opponent in the NFL is easy, but you can say this is a much more favorable opponent. If the Redskins are going to start their first 2 games on the road and beat the New Orleans Saints, and now they have a lot of motivation right now. They have a lot of mojo going on behind Robert Griffin. Griffining, believe it or not, is becoming the hip new thing to do, believe it or not. But I like the Washington Redskins over the St. Louis Rams at the Edward Jones Dome. Cowboys and Seahawks, I think Dallas is going to pull that one out. Chargers and Titans, I like San Diego in that. I'm trying to speed through these picks now since I got other things that I want to get to. Jets and Steelers, I like, even though both teams lost last week. Steelers were, of course, playing Peyton Manning and the Broncos. No, actually, both teams didn't lose. The Jets actually won. What am I saying? I'm sort of losing my train of thought since I've been so busy this morning. But anyway, Jets had that huge win, of course, over the Buffalo Bills, in which Buffalo was really no competition. And, of course, Pittsburgh had that loss against the Denver Broncos. But I like the Steelers to even their season up at 1-1, sending the Jets to 1-1, winning at home at Heinz Field. I like the Steelers in that one. Lions at 49ers. Everyone's hyping this thing because of what happened last year with the whole Jim Schwartz and John Harbaugh thing. The confrontation, I guess you can have, the sort of handshake that turned into a confrontation from last year. And I like San Francisco at home over the Detroit Lions. And Broncos and Falcons. Believe it or not, Monday Night Football has had some pretty stinkers for games, but this is actually a week where possibly this week Monday Night Football game could actually be better than the Sunday Night Football game, and that's been a rarity, because Sunday Night Football has had the better games. But for this one, at home, it's in Atlanta, but I still like the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Denver Broncos in what could be a Super Bowl preview, even though it's at home, and this has the potential to be a very offensively charged game. I still like the Atlanta Falcons at home over the Denver Broncos, sending them to 2-0. But of course, there's that quarterback that they got for the Denver Broncos, that of course Peyton Manning. So don't be surprised if they win. But I'm picking the Atlanta Falcons. So just to run through really quick, just to do rapid fire on my picks. Let me see. Where did I have? Losing all my notes here. Though I may. So I like Baltimore over Philadelphia, New England over Arizona, Indy over Minnesota, Oakland over Miami, New Orleans over Carolina, Kansas City over Buffalo, Bengals over the Browns, Texans over the Jaguars, New York over Tampa Bay, Washington over St. Louis, Cowboys over the Seahawks, Chargers over the Titans, Steelers over the Jets, 49ers over the Lions, and Falcons over the Broncos. Those are my picks for Week 2. I went 10-6 last week, including Wednesday Night Football, in which I picked the Giants over the Cowboys. And, of course, that didn't turn out too well, thanks to Tony Romo and DeMarco Murray. But also, looking back at the Thursday night game on the NFL Network, if you saw that, of course, which already put me at 0-1 for this week, you had the Green Bay Packers beating the Chicago Bears by a final score of 23-10, in which Jay Cutler was pretty much the bad Jay Cutler. He gave Bears fans bad flashbacks of what they had to endure for a long time with the whole good Rex Grossman, bad Rex Grossman thing when they went to the Super Bowl, when they got beat by the Indianapolis Colts, and they couldn't do anything. He was yelling at his offensive linemen. They didn't do much for him. He was sacked like 5, 6, 7 times in that game. But it's something when you not only get sacked, but also when you're throwing interceptions to Traymon Williams, when you're throwing interceptions to Charles Woodson and A.J. Hawk and Clay Matthews are just having their way, that says something else about the way that game went for the Chicago Bears. Also, Matt Forte's injury did not help matters at all. Brandon Marshall did not get one throw to him that first half. Come again. Not to mention Aaron Rodgers. Everyone's talking about Jay Cutler not having a pretty good game. Aaron Rodgers did not throw his first touchdown pass until the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, and that was to Donald Driver. So, as badly as Jay Cutler performed, Aaron Rodgers didn't have much of a better game either. That was all about the defenses for both teams, who were stellar. The offenses really didn't show up for either Green Bay or Chicago in that Thursday night game. So that's just my picks. I guess you can say, once again, an abridged version of 10 minutes on the clock. I was also planning on getting to the NHL lockout, not to mention Seattle looks like the Seattle City Council, they approved their new NBA arena, so it looks like they're one step closer to getting to a team. But I didn't have enough time to get to that this week because of all the football talk, and that's probably going to be the case up until the Super Bowl. So it looks like this is going to be pretty much a football-centric show, I guess you can say. So what you think? Rate, comment, react, reply, add, and subscribe. Look forward to reading your comments as always and get your feedback. I'm just one guy talking about nothing. Who are your picks and who do you like for this week? Is it your team? Is it somebody else? Who do you like? You feeling good about your team after 1 or 2 weeks, or you're already starting to panic? So once again, on the Real Sports Talk Network, I'm Akeem Balaam, aka Li495. See you on the internet someplace. This has been another edition of 10 Minutes on the Clock. See ya on the internet someplace.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear. Be there by next year, where I'm going.